Ooh, I swear the Sacramento Kings are trying to kill us with these crazy overtime wins, missed free throws, fouling out. This game had it all. But in the end, the beam is lit. Another monster win for the Sacramento Kings without De'Aaron Fox. They are the only team this season that can say that they have beaten the first place in the West Minnesota Timberwolves twice on their home floor. You are listening to Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, first-time customers can you get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News, and exhale. The Kings made it. Man, they pulled out just another gritty, ridiculous, to some extent, confusing win, right? Games that this Kings team has won that we can point to and go, man, look at what this team has accomplished. And then you think back to the games that they've lost and go, how is it possible you're losing these games when you're winning games like this in Minnesota? I don't know how to make it make sense. All I know is how to enjoy it. And the Kings took us on a ride, right? Took us on a roller coaster ride of emotions tonight, just like they have done many times over the past couple of seasons. And I have a feeling this ride is not stopping. It's going to keep on going, hopefully into the postseason. But this win tonight, I talked about the Clippers win at the beginning of this 4-game stretch of doom, this survive portion of the playoff race. Talked about that win as the win that we might look back on and go, okay, this is the win that started that Kings run in the second half of the season or down the stretch to secure a playoff spot. And I still feel like they can lean on that win in that way. But this victory in Minnesota tonight shows the heart of the Sacramento Kings, shows that they have what it takes to dig deep, to go the extra mile, and to do what needs to be done without being over-reliant on their superstar and De'Aaron Fox to just carry them there. This Kings team, this Kings win tonight shows me that this Sacramento Kings team is capable of answering the call. The question is, though, does the call always have to come after a bad loss, or I shouldn't say a bad loss, the way the Kings fell apart to the Denver Nuggets, right? Does the call always have to be when the Kings and their backs are against the wall? And I truly believe that the Kings looked at this 4-game stretch the same way that I did, the same way that so many of us did. Because, again, if you go back to last week, when I broke down the Kings' race to the playoffs, I broke it up into 3 sections. The first section was the survive section, this 4-game stretch with a game against the Clippers in LA, second night of a back-to-back at home against Miami, then a 4th and final game against the Denver Nuggets, and then this game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Find a way to get 2 of them, right? Just split this. If you split this, you feel pretty darn good. Now, the argument could be made that the Kings maybe should have gone 3-1 over this stretch. I'm not going to say 4-0, but if the Kings had defended their lead better and not fallen apart in Denver, maybe they could have been 3-1. Who cares? The goal was 2-2 during this stretch. At least the goal for me, for this Kings team, was to go 2-2 during this stretch. You accomplished that. And arguably, you won the 2 hardest games on the front and back end of this stretch, beating the Clippers in LA, a Clippers team that has presented you with a ton of matchup nightmares this season, and then beating the Minnesota Timberwolves on their home floor for a second time. The Timberwolves have only lost 7 games at home this season. 7 games at home that they've lost. 2 of them are to the Sacramento Kings. I don't know if the Timberwolves are starting to look at the Kings as a matchup problem. Remember, the Timberwolves last season were one of the few teams that gave the Kings a ton of fits, right? The Timberwolves last season were one of only a couple teams that could say that they beat the Kings more than twice during the regular season. So I don't know what it is about the T-Wolves this season and why the Kings are playing so well against them, at least in Minnesota. But if we get a Kings and Timberwolves playoff series, which at this point more than likely would be first seed versus eighth seed, either way, I love that series just from a drama standpoint. Now, hopefully, not every single game of that series, if it happens, is like this game tonight, because I don't know if I can make it all the way through. The Kings are trying to kill their fan base sometimes. Man, it's a good thing that they have a sponsorship with Kaiser Permanente, because sometimes it just feels like they're trying to put all of us in a hospital. Just with the heart attacks that they put us through, the just mental fatigue, the physical fatigue watching this game, man. I'm at work in a newsroom in a professional setting where we have this storm and blizzard happening in California right now. Yeah, the Kings are in Minnesota, where they normally have to worry about this kind of weather. But over back here in California, we're dealing with all sorts of weather issues right now. So they're all trying to be professional and cover what's happening weather-wise. And I'm in my sports room screaming my head off, losing my mind, hyperventilating into a paper bag because of the adventure that the Sacramento Kings put us on. There's a couple things that I want to talk about. The first is something we've talked about too much this freaking season, and something that I swear to you, when the Kings make it into the postseason, whether it's play-in or playoffs, free throws are going to have us all hiding our eyes, not wanting to look, right? Free throws this season have been a travesty for Sacramento, and tonight it nearly killed them again. 13 of 24 from the line, 54%. That includes Malik Monk, who we'll talk about in a second, had a monstrous night. Malik Monk hitting a pair or missing a pair of clutch free throws in overtime. If the Kings shoot 75+% from the free throw line, which is around their average, maybe slightly above their average, which isn't good, by the way. 75% is not good. But if they shoot 75% from the line, this game doesn't go into overtime. Like, the Kings win this game. They secure it. But no, the Kings have to send us on this emotional roller coaster. I don't know what it is about free throw shooting with this team. Don't ask me to figure it out. I don't think they know. I don't think Mike Brown knows. They might as well use our sponsor, BetterHelp, to go and get a psychiatrist or a bunch of therapists to go in and sit down with them and try and figure out what it is about this team stepping to the free throw line and not being able to hit what's supposed to be one of the easiest jump shots in the game of basketball. This Kings team, not even a jump shot. They don't even jump. It's supposed to be free points, free throw, free points. And this Kings team just cannot seem to take advantage of that. I also want to talk about one negative thing with Malik Monk before I praise him for the amazing work that he did tonight. And it has less to do, honestly, with Malik and more to do with the NBA game today. And it's been like this for a while. I hate isolation hero ball. I can't stand it. I know there are some players, some superstars in this league that make their money off of it, right? Luka Doncic comes to mind. James Harden to some extent. ISO ball, these guys are at their absolute best when it's just them, mano-a-mano, game on the line, big shot, everybody else stand on the baseline, get the hell out of my way. I'm going to go win this game or lose this game for us on one shot in one possession. I understand there are players in the league that excel in that situation. There are only, in my opinion, a handful of them that should be getting the green light for that. Malik Monk is not one of them. Now, I understand Malik was cooking, right? Malik had a sensational second half. The Kings were going to win or lose this game on the back of Malik Monk tonight with De'Aaron Fox out and Domantas Sabonis fouling out in overtime. I respect it. I appreciate it. But in regulation, 15 seconds remaining, you're coming out of a timeout, inbounding the ball at the half-court line. You have to get a better shot than that step-back, air ball, chucked heave of a three that Malik Monk threw up there at the end. I don't understand the point of isolation basketball, especially for a team like the Sacramento Kings, who excels offensively by moving the ball around. Again, I get that Malik was your guy tonight. And I get that you wanted him taking that shot over anybody else on the floor. Fine. Run him off a couple ball screens, set some better picks, get him going downhill. Something more than 4/5 of your team standing on the baseline. Harrison Barnes walks up to set a screen to force the switch, which ended up getting Naz Reid on him, which Naz Reid is a really, really good player. And for a big man, he's good at defending guards on the perimeter. So it's not like that's the absolute switch that you wanted there. Regardless, I don't understand taking 4/5 of your offense and just saying, go away, step aside, get out of the way so we can try for some one-on-one hero ball. I just don't think it makes sense for a team like the Sacramento Kings. Luka Doncic, fine. James Harden, fine. Other of these guys, sure. Well, if they want to do it, okay. For a team like the Sacramento Kings, especially with De'Aaron Fox out, move the basketball. Use your entire team. All right. Enough of the negative about Malik, because let's talk about the positive. Malik Monk tonight, unbelievable, right? 39 points, 6 of 29 from the field, 5 of 8 from three-point range, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. Y'all, Malik had 4 points at halftime. Only 4 points at halftime, and he finishes with 39. So quick math, that means 35 points from the second half through overtime period. Malik stepped up and took over in the second half. But I do want to backtrack to the first half really quick because I think this context is extremely important. Malik Monk was struggling, wasn't finding his shot in that first half. The Kings, I thought, played excellent in the first half. They only led by like 1 point at halftime, I believe, off of a buzzer beater corner 3 from Harrison Barnes. They built a 14-point lead at one point. The Timberwolves came back, ended up taking a lead of their own midway or at one point in the second quarter. Once again, the Kings blew a double-digit lead, which is an issue that they've had this season, but at least this time it didn't snowball into a blown lead turns into a big deficit like what happened in Denver. The Kings did a good job at least to correct that mistake from the other night to tonight. But Davion Mitchell made up for the fact that Malik Monk was struggling offensively to start this game, right? Davion Mitchell tonight finished with 16 points, 7 of 8 from the field. He started this game 7 of 7. I believe most of those shots, if not all of those shots, came in the first half. Like Davion Mitchell, the reason why Malik could get away with struggling as much as he did in the first half to explode in the second half and give the Sacramento Kings a chance to win is because Davion Mitchell was as efficient scoring the basketball as he needed to be in that first half. I have been critical of Davion Mitchell this season. A lot of us have. I don't know what Davion Mitchell's future is here in Sacramento. And later on in the show, I'm going to talk about Keon Ellis because I don't think it's a coincidence that in another game where Fox is out and Keon Ellis starts at point guard, the Kings find a way to win. I don't think that's a coincidence. Keon Ellis played really, really, really well tonight, and I think he deserves to have that consistent rotational spot for the remainder of this season and into the playoffs. I don't know what Davion Mitchell's future is here in Sacramento. But tonight, offensively, he stepped up in a major way. The Kings do not win this game without Davion Mitchell. The Kings do not build that 14-point lead without Davion Mitchell. The Kings do not put themselves in a position to where superhero Malik Monk can allow them to win the game without Davion Mitchell. That being said, Malik's second half, unbelievable. You know, you're not going to make up for the 27 points per game that De'Aaron Fox scores, but you're also not going to make up for the presence that De'Aaron Fox has on the floor, right? De'Aaron Fox is such a unique, gifted, quick, athletic player that he just changes the game for a defense and changes the game for the Sacramento Kings offensively because of how quick he is, how he can attack the basket, how he can get downhill, paint touches, which lead to spray threes, pick and roll opportunities, like, not to mention in the fourth quarter and in crunch time, his ability to get any shot that he wants on the floor, whether it's that patented pull-up mid-range jumper, knocking down the threes like he's done this season, or getting to the rim. There is just nobody in the league like De'Aaron Fox. If there's anybody that can make a case or come as close to replicating De'Aaron Fox's style and production and impact on the Sacramento Kings and on a game, it's Malik Monk. How cool is it to have someone who is the best friend of your superstar able to take that superstar responsibility onto themselves tonight and do it by playing relatively the same game? Now, I don't know if De'Aaron's shot selection would have been the same as Malik's in the fourth quarter and in overtime. No idea. right? And I don't know if Minnesota defensively would have handled guarding Fox differently than how they guarded Monk tonight. But Malik attacked the exact same way that De'Aaron attacks in close games. He's getting downhill, knocking down big threes for sure, running off of screens, facilitating the offense, attacking, drawing defenses in, finding lanes to either get to the rim or to pass out to Domantas Sabonis or somebody else on the perimeter. I just thought, Malik, again, there is no replacing De'Aaron, but Malik came as close as you, I think, possibly could to having that De'Aaron Fox presence and impact and effect on a game while the man actually isn't playing. I got to talk to you about some numbers that I absolutely love from this game. I want to talk about Keon Ellis and Keegan Murray and their impact defensively. Got to talk about Domantas Sabonis and what he did once again against Rudy Gobert. I also want to rant about NBA officiating. We have a whole lot more coming up in this show, so stick around. I mentioned earlier that the Sacramento Kings might need BetterHelp to help with their free throw issues, their mental issues when they step to that free throw line. I don't know what it is. And I don't know if BetterHelp is qualified to help athletes with some fundamental issue on the basketball floor, but I do know BetterHelp has therapists and experts out there to help you through so many different aspects of life, so many different things that you're struggling with, baggage that you're carrying. Look, mental health is so incredibly important, and I love the fact that Locked On gives me a platform, and more importantly, people are discussing mental health and having the conversations about it today that we didn't really have 10 years ago. Look, therapy has always kind of had this stigma to it, like we see on TV shows and on movies of a guy sitting on a couch staring at the ceiling while a professional sits there with a clipboard and just nods while taking notes while you pour open your soul to them, right? That's not what therapy is. It's having a conversation with a licensed professional, someone who can help work through the issues that you have, help you unpack some things, provide a different professional, educated perspective on some of the things you might be going through without having any bias or tie into your life whatsoever. It's refreshing how they can help spot some things and pull some things out that you might not even think about or you might take for granted. Look, all of our issues, big or small, are worth talking to somebody about. And if you're considering giving therapy a try, if you just want to see what it can do for you, how it can help you, maybe you've considered it but felt kind of weird about it, I encourage you, use BetterHelp, right? Because BetterHelp will get you connected with licensed therapists completely digitally, right? It'll help you find the therapist that you need on your time, on your schedule. And if you don't necessarily like or vibe with the first therapist that you get connected with after filling out your questionnaire and everything, then don't worry about it. You can switch, you can find another therapist, you can check out and test out all their professionals in their database at any time, and they're not going to charge you for switching. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is also brought to you by Stitch Fix. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, don't let the suit and tie fool you. I don't know how to dress. I have absolutely no style whatsoever. I try and get help from things that I see online or from my wife or even my mom at times. Like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing when I walk into a store. I don't know anything about style or fashion or anything like that. I wear things that I like. For God's sakes, I'm wearing a tie that is Lord of the Rings themed, right? It has the stuff that's written on the ring on this tie right now. That's basically, I find something that I like and then I put it on. Well, thankfully, my style is improving because of Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, your size, and your budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe throughout any and every single season. You get easy upgrades to your wardrobe all year long with a professional stylist that helps you find new, trendy, but still solid and like pieces that work with you, clothing that feels good for you, that you look good in, clothing that is made for you, right? I'm 6'4", I'm super thin, right? It's not easy to find pants and shirts that fit me perfectly, right? Stitch Fix builds their clothing to fit me, like it was made initially for me and me alone. Stitch Fix makes it so easy. I don't like to shop. I don't like to go into those clothing stores. I have no idea what I'm doing. They give me the outfits that I like. I can try them. If I don't like them, I can send them back. Or if I decide to keep it, it's mine, right? It's that easy. And if you don't love something, again, you can just send it back. Shipping, returns, and exchanges are always free. Style that makes you feel good as you look good. Make sure you get started today at StitchFix.com/lockedon. That's StitchFix.com/lockedon. StitchFix.com/lockedon. Some numbers from tonight's game to celebrate for Sacramento Kings fans. Numbers that hopefully don't escape you when looking at the box score, when thinking about tonight's game, when you're discussing this game tomorrow with your friends on hopefully a drier Saturday. I can hear the rain coming down on the roof of our studio right now. Mention these numbers in your conversations when breaking down this game. First off, 68 points in the paint for the Sacramento Kings tonight. Why is that significant? Because the Minnesota Timberwolves are second in the NBA in points in the paint allowed. The Timberwolves, one of the reasons for why they are top of the league, or top of the Western Conference right now, is because of their interior defense. Now, a lot of that happens to help or fall on the shoulders of Rudy Gobert and how excellent the two-time Defensive Player of the Year is down low. But the Kings, they feasted down low on Rudy and on the Timberwolves tonight. Again, the Timberwolves give in like the mid to upper 40s of points in the paint per game. And the Kings put 68 points up on them. You love to see that. The Kings also won the rebound battle tonight, 45-44. Now, that doesn't sound like that significant of a victory because it's not. But offensive rebounds were a major key for Sacramento tonight. The Kings had 14 offensive boards, leading to 20 second chance points tonight. Major difference in the game. When the Kings got offensive rebounds and multiple opportunities on offense, they did not waste them. Also, Kings basketball is getting out in transition, whether De'Aaron Fox is playing or not. And defensively, when you step up and play the defense like the Sacramento Kings were playing tonight, they battled defensively all night long. That opened up offensive opportunities where they thrive. The Kings completely shut out the Timberwolves in transition tonight. 19-0 fast break advantage. When the Kings got out in transition, they shot 90%. 9 of the 10 fast break opportunities they converted into points. That is Sacramento Kings basketball. Right now, it requires some effort and some success on the defensive end to get out and get those transition opportunities. But that's where just a little bit of defensive improvement can go such a long way for Sacramento and their offense. And then something that they've struggled with at different times this season, something that they struggled with in Denver the other night. The Kings did a good job taking care of the basketball. They only turned the ball over 8 times. All right, I'm going to give some love to Keon Ellis and Keegan Murray. Let's start with Keon Ellis tonight. Again, I do not think it's a coincidence at all that the Kings, are they? I don't remember their record when Keon Ellis is a starter. But I think they now have 4 wins this season when Keon is starting. I think all 4 of the wins that they've had without De'Aaron Fox playing, Keon has been a starter in those wins. I don't think that's a coincidence, right? Keon just comes in and he does a good job. He makes the absolute most of his opportunity. Tonight, he only scored like 2 points, but he won the Defensive Player of the Game crown, 7 assists, and 4 steals tonight. Also a tremendous amount of deflections. Like, he made his impact on the game. He did his job, right? No, he didn't offensively make up for the lack of scoring with De'Aaron Fox being out, but he moved the basketball. He got others involved, and he did what he was supposed to do on the defensive end of the floor. He helped set the tone for Sacramento out of the get-go. Like I said, the Kings battled defensively this entire night, played physical defense the entire night. Keon was part of setting the tone for that. And then, of course, there was Keegan Murray. Tonight, Keegan had 17 points, 7 of 15 from the field, 5 rebounds, a couple of steals. I thought Keegan Murray made some all-NBA defense caliber defensive plays tonight. Like, he made defensive plays on Karl Anthony Towns. At one point, had a matchup with Rudy Gobert. We've seen him also step out to the perimeter, and he'll guard guys like he guarded Naz Reid tonight, but also has spent time guarding like Steph Curry earlier this season. Will guard wings, will guard guards, will guard forwards. Like, Keegan Murray is the most versatile defender on this Kings roster. And he showed it tonight, right? I don't know if Keegan's going to win all defensive honors. Part of me doubts it, playing for the Sacramento Kings. That being said, like, he's developing into that type of player before our very eyes. Now, we still have questions on the offensive end of Keegan Murray's development. This is probably going to be a conversation for another time here on Locked On Kings. But NBA University put out the stat, and Keegan Murray, he leads the league in terms of has the highest percentage of his scoring that comes off of assists. So Keegan's offense is still totally reliant or significantly reliant on his teammates getting him the ball and finding him the ball in his spots, right? I just talked about how much I hate isolation ball and hero ball, but the Kings could benefit from having Keegan be able to create offense for himself a little bit more. That doesn't just mean becoming an ISO player, but someone who can put the ball on the ground, get to his spots, get to the rim if needed, and take some of that pressure off of De'Aaron Fox, who I think was like 3rd or 4th in the NBA in unassisted field goals. So, like, the majority of Fox's points and baskets that he's scoring, he's just creating himself. He's not getting a feed from Domantas Sabonis or anybody else to hit him in those spots, right? So the Kings need to still get Keegan to open up and unlock himself more as an offensive player who can create his own shot. That's still part of his development to come. We were hoping for more of that development from him this season. But if that hasn't met expectations, his defensive improvement has beyond exceeded expectations, right? He's made some tremendous defensive growth. Tonight, he had some major defensive plays. And then, of course, Domantas Sabonis tonight fouled out of this game. I think the last 3 games that he's played in Minnesota, he's fouled out in. Probably has to do with him going toe-to-toe with Rudy Gobert down low. But Sabonis, 21 points tonight, 7 of 14 from the field, 15 rebounds, 8 assists, and 3 blocks. It's the same amount of blocks, by the way, that Rudy Gobert had. What I want to point out with this specifically is I was critical of Domantas Sabonis after the Denver Nuggets game. I thought with De'Aaron Fox out, offensively, the Kings needed more than the 13 points, I believe, that Sabonis had. Right? Sabonis had 8 points in the first 6 minutes of this game. He was in attack mode offensively right out of the gate, went right at Rudy Gobert. No fear, you're the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. I don't care. I'm going right at you. Stop me. Try. And that's not the first time that Sabonis has done that. Sabonis likes to play against Rudy Gobert, and he plays well against Rudy more often than not. What I saw from Sabonis tonight was he recognized I needed to do more scoring-wise. I needed to do more offensively with De'Aaron Fox being out. And when he found out, and when we all found out that Fox was not playing today, it looked like Sabonis took the floor and said, okay, got it. I'm going to step up more offensively. I'm going to make more of a scoring impact in this game. And he did that, and I give him a ton of credit for it. Today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. It's what brings home the winning trophy, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has what you need to keep that baby running. We're talking about 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, it'll fit your ride the first time, every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. This feels weird saying after a year or a game or a series in 2002 where the Sacramento Kings were literally screwed out of an NBA championship by NBA officiating. I have never seen officiating be as consistently bad as it's been this season around the league. Not just for the Sacramento Kings, right? The Kings, we already know, we don't necessarily like the whistle that the Kings get. They don't get the whistle that certain other stars or certain other teams get. But to be honest with you, the NBA officiating crew this season has just been bad, period. Like, around the league. All teams have suffered from terrible officiating at some point in time. And there was a moment in this game that typically I try to avoid talking about officiating more than I need to. I just think it doesn't serve any purpose. I do think that officials need to start answering for some of these calls that they're making, especially when they're big calls at the end of games. Put them at a freaking podium, have reporters ask them questions, and let them answer for why they made the decisions that they made. The fact that officials are so protected to where coaches and players can't comment on their disagreement or their dislike of a call without financially being impacted negatively for that, being fined for speaking their mind about officiating. Officials are protected this way, yet they make bad decision after bad decision, blown call after blown call, and then you implement this coach's challenge system in the emphasis to get calls right, and you have a moment like tonight where Trey Lyles was outside of the restricted area, but in the lane, planted, set. He had enough time to take a nap and make breakfast, standing in the paint, waiting for, I think it was Karl Anthony Towns, who came bowling down the lane right into him. I don't know how in the world that was initially called a blocking foul. Mike Brown challenges it. I think it's the best challenge Mike Brown has this season, because we know Mike typically does not challenge the right calls and he loses more. The vast majority of his challenges, Mike Brown loses. But I thought, you know what? This is the easiest challenge for Mike Brown of the season. He's absolutely 100% going to win this challenge. You watch the replay in slow motion. Yep, absolutely. It's a charge. Let's get going. Let's wrap this up. Kings ball. Let's move on. Nope. The call is upheld. Why? I don't remember what the hell they said word for word, but it was something ridiculous along the lines of Trey Lyles' torso was still moving. His feet were planted. He's standing here in the lane waiting for Karl Anthony Towns or whoever it was to come running into him. He's standing there, but apparently his torso was still moving a smidge, like frame by frame, slight movement that you have to slow the replay down by milliseconds as if the official can claim that they saw that in real time. Regardless, it's nonsense. If that is not a charge, get rid of the charge call. If that play is not a charge, then there is no such thing as taking a charge. Later on in the game, Keegan Murray took a charge. I don't think he did anything different. In fact, he got to the spot later than Trey Lyles got to the spot when Trey was called for the blocking foul. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And it's not just the Sacramento Kings issue, right? The officiating, I thought on the Timberwolves side of things was really bad tonight too. I thought the Timberwolves got called for some fouls, and there were some parts of this game where it was like the Timberwolves should be pissed off as well. Like, the officiating in this game was really, really bad. And if you watch basketball on a semi-regular basis and not just Kings basketball, watch other games, right? Officiating is bad nightly. Nightly. And I promise you, we're going to get into the playoffs, whether it's a Kings series, hopefully not, or anybody else. There is going to be a point in time during these playoffs where a game or potentially a series is drastically impacted and maybe ruined because of god-awful officiating. Because it's been a trend all season long for this year. In fact, it kind of started last season, but it's really picked up steam this year. NBA officiating this year has been absolutely dreadful. But hey, like I talked about earlier, the Sacramento Kings, you got through this 4-game stretch of doom. You accomplished your goal, or at least you accomplished my goal, right? You survived. You went 2-2. You went 500 over this. You're in 7th place in the Western Conference. You're a game back of the Pelicans in 6th. Now is the time to strike, right? You have a home game coming up against the Chicago Bulls. Then you're in LA taking on the Lakers. You've had a lot of success against the Lakers so far this season. Then you start that 6-game homestand where you have the Spurs, the Rockets, the Bucks, the Lakers, the Knicks, and the Grizzlies. Then you go on the road for 3 against the Raptors, the Wizards, and the Magic. I'm not predicting you're going to win all these games, right? I just said you're playing the Bucks, you're playing the Knicks, you're playing the Lakers twice. There are some tough games in here. But there are also a lot of games that should be terrifying Kings fans, because on paper, Sacramento should absolutely be winning at home versus San Antonio, or winning at home versus Houston, or winning at home versus a decimated Grizzlies team. But will they? With this Kings team, who freaking knows? Maybe we shouldn't feel confident about those games. Regardless of the context of how we feel, Kings or Kangs, this is the time to strike. This is the time for you to move up in the standings and secure a spot in that 5th or 6th seed, and hopefully give yourself a little bit of separation from the other teams that are behind you, right? This, to me, this is the stretch where you are going to put yourself in the position you're going to put yourself in the seed that you want to end up in. And then the rest of the season, those 2 games against the Dallas Mavericks and beyond, those are the games that you win to secure that spot. But you have to make up ground in this stretch. We'll see how the Kings do. Hey, I wanted to say thank you, too, really quick before I wrapped up. I just recently passed 7 years with Locked On. 7 years of hosting the Locked On Kings podcast. A peek behind the curtain really quick. When I first started Locked On Kings, I took it over for Jason Ross. If you're not familiar with Jason Ross, you should be. He's the longtime radio broadcaster of the Sacramento Kings. Works hand-in-hand with the legend G-Man Gary Gerald. Works for Sacktown Sports Radio, formerly 1140 KHDK Radio, where I got my start as an intern. And it was because of Jason that I got that internship. But Jason was the original host of Locked On Kings. Kind of got it off the ground a little bit, hosted 100 episodes or so, and then he turned it over to me. David Locke and the Locked On Podcast Network trusted a kid who had been waiting for a shot, right? I have no problem saying it. At Sacktown Sports 1140, I was not getting the opportunity that I felt that I deserved, and I was not getting the opportunity that I wanted and that I was ready for. I was being pushed in different directions, and none of it was towards what I wanted to do. Locked On became something that was for me. Locked On became something that they encouraged me to be myself, right? I tiptoe a fine line in this industry. I work in news, right? Working in journalism. You're not always supposed to have your bias. I wear my Kings fandom on my sleeve, and I'm not ashamed of it. I absolutely love the Sacramento Kings. I grew up loving the Sacramento Kings. Even if I get frustrated with them, I will forever love this organization, forever love this team. They have meant so much to me, have helped me through so much of my life growing up to where I'm at today. I am blessed to be able to do what I do, and for Locked On to trust me with this platform, to trust me with representing the Sacramento Kings on their platform, that network that has grown exponentially over the 7 years that I've been a part of it. I'm just very thankful for that. Actually, thankful doesn't even begin to sum it up, right? These have been an amazing 7 years. I can't wait for 7 more. I can't wait to continue to take Locked On Kings to new heights, and I can't wait to celebrate with a post-NBA championship victory Locked On Kings podcast that will happen at some point. Speak it into existence, Matt. Manifest it. It's going to happen. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for tuning in over these 7 years, or if this is your first episode, I appreciate you more than you know. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of Locked On Kings. Until then, my name is Matt George. You've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.